In our marriages, we really have to give and take, and we really cannot be selfish. And so I've had to really learn about, there are times when I am unhappy, or honor the idea that you are committed to this and you're going to see it through thick or thin.
For me, it's like, if you have an issue, talk about it, discuss it, work it out.
We always have to consider that we made a choice, and that's where it's at. Plural marriage, we make choices. Monogamy, we make choices. We chose it when we were young. I really I'm leaving my children to understand what I believe and to find what they do.
Kody Brown is literally fighting with everyone. News at 11. I'm serious, you guys. It's March 23rd and Kody Brown's fighting with his wives. No, really, he's not. He was only fighting with Janelle on Instagram. No, Janelle on Twitter. But Meri Brown is fighting with haters on her Instagram. And Christine Brown is over on Us Weekly saying that she doesn't have a say in her marriage with Kody. Let's unpack it all. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your snacks, maybe some wine, maybe a beer. I don't care. Get what you need to get. Sit down, get comfy. We got some things to talk about. Last week on the episode of Sister Wives, or actually 2 days ago, Kody got into it with Janelle about their social distancing plans and Garrison not wanting to take the time he needs to, be safe and not potentially infect his family. On Twitter, the Browns were live tweeting, and Kody and Janelle were exchanging barbs, and fighting with your spouse online during a show is 1000% a choice, Kody. So he was talking about in this episode, he was upset because Janelle, he believed, was not taking responsibility for Gabriel and Garrison not staying safe, and that choice was affecting everyone. And he called her out specifically during the episode, and he said this: Gabriel and Garrison both could have stopped their social lives for me to return home. They say unfair, but never changed their behavior. And Janelle Brown didn't insist on it. #SisterWives. So he says that they could have changed their behavior, and then he could have come over, and Janelle didn't tell them what to do. Now, in fairness, Gabriel and Garrison are adults. They are not bound to listen to mom no matter what. And I don't know, have you ever tried to tell an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old to stay home? It's hard. He is dragging Gabriel and Garrison for not doing what they need to do. In response, Janelle, who is not a wallflower or one to stay silent, said this: I live with adult children and I cannot simply ground them. And I sure as heck wasn't going to turn them out of the house in the middle of the pandemic. I was between a rock and a hard place. In a way, I can kind of empathize with Janelle. Her children are of an age she cannot make them do anything. They both are working, Garrison has a job in construction, and Gabriel is in college, and he is going to school, and he can't not go to school. And at the time, the colleges were still open. They hadn't gone virtual at this point. Construction sites were still building. That's considered essential work. What do you want her to do, Kody? Outside of forcing them to live on the streets, which again, how are they going to find a place to live in the middle of a pandemic when everything is closed and the economy is depressed? It makes no sense. Now, I understand why Kody is upset. He could have just said, wear a mask, make sure you're not having any symptoms, but instead it was like, nope, it's their fault, not mine, that everything is wrong. It's always Kody is the victim and everyone else is to blame. I'm proud of Janelle for clapping back at Kody. I'm kind of on the fence as a whole because she can't really force them to do what they do, and she is stuck in a rock and a hard place. So with Janelle, I'm actually on Janelle's side on this one, although I don't necessarily agree with her kids' choices. She can only do so much, and she encouraged them to stay home more, and it's up to them on whether or not they're going to listen. But It's 100% a choice, Kody Brown, to decide if you're going to fight with your wives online, and you do it every single week. You're so predictable. So moving on to Meri. This week on the episode, we saw Meri and Kody basically talk about how, they don't spend time together. Kody says that he doesn't date her, and Meri admitted that Kody literally never comes over. And Meri's been getting a lot of negativity on social media because people are thinking that she's weak for staying with him. They think she's weak for staying with him. They don't understand why she continues to be with him, and they want her to buck up and leave. And so she took on trolls, and she said this: "I know my value. Anyone else's opinion doesn't really matter. Unknown." And it says this: "I get that I'm in the public eye. I get that people want the best for me. I get that people have their own opinions about me based on their own perspective and life values. I get that I have supporters. I get that I have haters. You want to know what else I get? That I know my worth, that I know my value, that I know what's in my heart and my head, that I know what my convictions are, that I know I'm the strong and capable woman capable of making her own decisions, not based on money, not based on religion, not based on feelings, that I'm not a quitter, that I understand everyone makes their own choices and decisions, that I get to make my own choices and decisions. I'm grateful to every single one of you who are kind, compassionate, and supportive. I'm grateful to those who reach out in kindness, trying to share a kind word and a supportive voice. I understand that many of you will give your advice to me are based on your values and your life experiences and your perspective of me. I hope you understand that each person has their own set of values and standards that they live by. You have yours, I have mine. Just because mine are not the same as yours does not mean I lack in self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, and make me a fool. Yes, those are labels many try to place on me on a daily basis, and I assure you that I'm not the Meri Brown that you think you know. I know my value." She's triggered, very triggered. And I understand that she's going to defend this, but the fact of the matter is that I think people are coming from a place of love with her, and Meri's in a cult and doesn't know it. And Meri doesn't realize she's brainwashed. So there's that aspect of it. And obviously you can't convince someone that is in a situation that's not healthy and is the power dynamic is unhealthy, and that the value that the way her husband is treating her is not okay, and the way that she's being treated is not okay, and the fact that the belief system makes her feel like she has to stay, and the fact that she has to say, "I'm not a quitter." Yeah, you don't have to be a quitter, but you don't also have to stay in a situation where you're being emotionally and verbally attacked by your husband all the time, and neglected. If that makes you not a quitter, great. I'm glad that you're not a quitter, Meri. I think that she continually addresses these things because every week there's more heat on her, and it does make her look like, why are you staying? And it's a reflection of her choice to stay because Kody's putting that on her and acting like she can leave whenever she wants, which she can. And I think it's unfair for Kody to constantly make those statements, because then it makes the audience irritated. But at the same time, they're public figures and they're putting all of this out there. So when you put your life out there and you literally look like a fool for staying with a guy, in all honesty, people are going to have opinions, and they're going to say that you don't have self-worth or you don't have self-esteem. And she can say she's confident, and that's great, but I don't necessarily believe that she is, because a confident woman, in my opinion, would not stay in a situation that she is in and do so willingly. And I think she stays there because of the brainwashing of this cult and the way that she grew up believing that she had to stay to get to the celestial kingdom or else lose her whole family. My opinions. So as Meri's entitled to have hers, I'm entitled to have mine. And then Christine did an interview with Us Weekly, and in her interview with Us Weekly, she commented about how there are times in her relationship when she really doesn't feel like she has a say, and that part is really frustrating to her. So she said one of the hardest parts about polygamy is that when she wants to make a decision or a choice, she doesn't always get to make the choice. Like she said, when I've wanted to go and move, I don't always get the decision. It's not always my choice. It has to be, a group decision. Or if there's something that she would like to do for the family and it doesn't go past the whole rules, or it doesn't match what the other wives need or want, she says that, she has to really deal with the fact that she doesn't have a say, and that to her frustrates her in the hardest points of the marriage. And I think that would be hard because you really don't get to decide what you want to do. It's different when you have a one-on-one partnership because it's 50% each one of you having input. In her situation, it's like 5 people. So it's like, I don't know, 20% of the choice of hers. She's a minority of the group in that respect. And so her voice is only worth 20% in the totality of the entire group. So if she wants something and nobody else does, she doesn't get it. That puts her in an unequal power position with her husband, because even though Kody says that he doesn't have authority, he really does, because he can effectively sway what these women want if he wants it badly enough, and he knows that if they don't support him, he can withdraw love, affection, time, whatever. Look what he's doing with Meri. So I totally empathize with her in that respect. Okay, so this was a lot to unpack. Kody and Janelle were fighting. Meri she's not meek, you guys. She has value and she loves herself, and I'm glad she does. And Christine doesn't have a voice or a choice. What are your thoughts about all of this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.